to try to learn from the outside and try to shape our character by forces from the outside. This one is to say there's something so unique and so powerful and so important within you. You try to allow it to flow and allow it to grow. The notion is, the agricultural notion about the sprout, let it grow. Then you become more and more humane.
So if that's something that's so natural, why don't the little people, why just doesn't everyone just?
That's right. This is often the question for Mencius. If this is a tendency, right? But the presupposition is that it's extremely weak, extremely minor. Just a sprout. Sprout is a possibility of some life. If you don't have the right sun, right soil, right water, it will not grow. You cannot say, well, that's not it. That's not life. That's your life. Try to do that. That's Mencian point of view. Don't believe you don't have anything. You try to get things from outside to shape you as what you ought to be. You are in the I call it ontological. You are in the most original sense what you ought to be. But normally we do not allow that uniqueness to grow or to flourish. So it dies, and then we become dehumanized. It's you have a question?
I don't know much about biology, but I can sort of imagine.
Biology?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can sort of imagine like animals
Yes.
being sympathetic, but I can't really imagine them being rational. So like I
Oh,
feel
great.
rational.
Give me a good example of the sympathetic, or maybe dogs and with birds with their youngs, all sympathetic, right?
There have been instances where like ants have helped another injured ant.
Right, and also the bees, they're very patriotic for queen, right?
Yeah.
For queen and country, they really do that in economies. All kinds of these, from the Mencian point of view, actually, the follow-up measures, these elements probably present in other animals, but they can never be, they're instincts. They can never be grow, they will not be able to grow. So you don't become a better dog when the dog has become more sympathetic through cultivation. You don't become a better cat or more cat-like if you develop. But this idea is, this thing may be shared by others, is a defining characteristic of being human. So the more you develop it, the more humane you become.
Could you say that for humans, for instance, it's more pure because it's not motivated by the instinct to, for instance, survive
Not
or
necessarily.
multiply?
No. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. The
animals
vital
might
energy
be-
may be more pure. Or something.
Right. I mean, the animals might be, the ant might be helping the other ant just because he wants the colony to survive or something, or.
The word wants is very interesting, but I don't think he wants to do anything. He would just do it,
Okay.
right? That's the instinct, but because that's not conditioned by any. That's part of the biological instinct of doing things. Normally, we there's all, at Wilson, the greatest scholar on ants, and has done a lot of work on this notion. He believes that social biology or social or just social biological ethics is basically based upon our observation how animals survive and flourish. So we learn how to survive and flourish accordingly. But this is certainly not Mencius. The Mencian position is first to ask what is unique of being human, and he identifies the uniqueness of the human's ability to have sympathy. That's his definition. You can challenge that definition, and then that doesn't mean all people are sympathetic, right? Because you have to grow. The notion is like a water table. If the water table is high, then it will flow far. So the demonstration from Mencian point of view is that the feeling of attachment. Human beings, unlike other animals, the attachment, the need for attachment, for reliance, for association is more powerful, and time is much longer. For example, the baby is attached to the mother, and that form of attachment is the basis of the sympathetic feeling that one can be cultivated. Juran Kagan, I don't know if you haven't taken any courses on the writing, you should. He's one of the leading scholars in bioethics and also in child psychology. And he also now follows this line of thinking. We're going to have a dialogue, hopefully, not the dialogue of two lonely persons. But the notion is the moral sense. Is the moral sense innate or not innate? It's a big question. Now he will argue. I will follow argue. It's innate. At least this. The feature is that the earliest sign of being moral from his child psychology is at age 2 or even younger. The baby begins to feel the presence of the other, and the baby begins to show sympathy. For example, the other baby cries, this baby will cry. If other babies, other playmates become, not playmates then, other babies become distressed, and this sense of real tension and uneasiness. So this we call the sympathetic resonance that begins very young. That's the beginning of the possibility of someone becoming moral. So that is the very basic. So a major difference, as you can see, is that either the emphasis on rationality as the basis for moral reasoning, or sympathy as the basis for moral reasoning. And sympathy is not opposed to rationality. Sympathy can be rational, it's not irrational. But we know for sure that rationality is something that has to be learned. There's no way anyone who becomes rational by birth. So rationality has to be learned. Sympathy not. So we should think about this question. This relates to the distinction, in the very beginning of Mencius, when he went to see the king said, how can you profit us? I say, well, don't talk about profitability, talk about rightness. So why? Rightness is not at all opposed to profit. Rightness meaning a long-term profit and a great profit that will profit everyone else. So this is linked to the notion about sympathy as a virtue. It's not only going to benefit yourself and benefit others, definitely benefit others. It's a long-term